This is lesson 43. Let's call it 43A. It'll probably take a couple to get through this. In Algebra 1, least common multiples of algebraic expressions. So let's talk about a least common multiple. If I have a few numbers here, let's say 4, 5, and 8. And what I'm looking for is the smallest number that each of these three will divide evenly into. Now 4 goes into 4, it goes into 8, so 4 goes into 8, 8 goes into 8, but 5 doesn't, so 8 is not the least common multiple. So I just keep looking for numbers until I find one that all three of those numbers will divide evenly into. Now 4 and 5 both go into 20, but 8 doesn't. 4 and 8 both go into 24, but 5 doesn't. So you keep going, you keep going, you keep going, and you find out that the number that all three of those divide into evenly, the smallest number, is 40. 8 goes into 45 times, 5 goes into 48 times, and 4 goes into 40 10 times. Alright, so how do you find out what that least common multiple is? Well, I do it a little bit different than the book. And the reason for that is it's easier, and it doesn't matter what way you choose to do this, it takes a little bit of effort. If you think math is going to just come fast and easy and no effort, then you're wrong. It's going to take some work in order, and sometimes in order to find out how to solve problems. So I would ask that you just get used to doing a little bit of more work in order to find the answer. We are in algebra. Alright, so how does this work? We take 4 and we write its prime factors. 2 times 2, both prime numbers that give me 4. 5, we write its 5 prime factors. 5 times 1, it's a prime number, so that's it. 8, its prime factors are 2 times 2 times 2. Okay, so we're looking for factors of each of these numbers that are prime, and that we multiply them together, we get the number that we started with, 4, 5, and 8. Alright, so now what do? We look at each row of numbers, and I've got 2 2's here, and I've got 3 2's here. So 3 is more than 2, so I'm going to circle those 3 and cross those out. I'm not going to use those. And once that row is done, I go to the next row. The second row gives me a 5 and a 1. I don't have a 5, and I don't have a 5 in this row. So that means that it occurs the most in this row. In the 1, you just kind of ignore. I look down at the next row. All those numbers are circled, so they're all used up. So what I do then is I take the numbers that are circled and multiply them. And there's my least common multiple. And that's it. Alright, so let's continue on and try a few more. So let's go, let's go to example number 43.1. And they give us 8, they give us 15, and 100. So, prime factors, 2 times 2 times 2. Prime factors of 15 are 5 times 3. Prime factors of 100 are 10 times 10, but we can break 10 down to 2 times 5 and 2 times 5, right? Because this is 10 times 10, but 10 is not prime, so we have to break it down. And let's just go ahead and write this as 2 times 2 times 5 times 5. We just put them in an order so they're next to each other. Okay, so let's look at the first row. I have 3 2's multiplied. Here I have 2. So it occurs the most often up there. And I get rid of those. Don't need them anymore. I look here. I've got a 5 here. And I have 2 5's here. So I want these two. I don't want this one. And I look up here. I don't have any 3's. I have 1 3. Don't have any 3's. So it occurs the most right there. So then I take 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 5. Multiply all those together, and that gives me 600. So that is the smallest number that 8, 15, and 100, all three of those go evenly into it. Alright, let's do another one. Example 43.2. We have 30, 75, and 80. Okay, so 30, just going to write as 3 times 10, but since 10 is not prime, we have to break that down into that. 75 is 25 times 3, but 25 is not prime. The prime factors of 25 are 5 times 5. 80, what do we have? 40 times 2, but 40 isn't prime, so we have 4 times 10 times 2. But those two aren't prime, so 4 is 2 times 2, and 10 is 2 times 5 times 2. So see how I kind of started here and then looked at each term and thought, they're not prime yet, so I have to keep going down smaller and smaller until I get my prime factors. I'm going to switch these two around so that I have all of my 2's in a row. So I'm just going to put it below. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. Alright, we'll cross that one out. I just rearranged things. Alright, so let's look at each row. In this row I have a 3. This row I have a 3. In this row I have no 3's. So it occurs once here and once here. So where does it occur the most often? It doesn't. So it doesn't matter which one you take. You just take, even though they both occur the same amount of times, you just pick one and circle it and cross out the other one. Alright, so let's look at our 2's. 2 occurs here once, it occurs here 4 times. So let's take all 4 of these and cross that one out. 5 occurs once here, twice here, and once there. So it occurs the most often there. So we get rid of that one and get rid of that one. So our least common multiple is going to be whatever that equals. So it's going to be a little bit of a big number. It's actually going to be 1200 when you multiply it all. Alright, so the key thing here is to remember that if I have a number that occurs like the 3 occurred once here and once here, you just pick one. You can't throw them both out because they occur. So if they occur, you just, the same number of times, you just cross out the one row's 3 and leave the other one. If it was like 2 3's here and 2 3's here, you cross out these 2 and just grab these 2 up here. Alright, so we're going to do one more and go with the next video. This is crazy, all the noise outside. They're mowing the lawn and it's the end of October. 588 and 1250. Okay, so we're asked to find the product of primes. So 560, I'm just going to put those down. What I normally do is I start out with my 2, and then actually the best way is just do your factor tree. You know, 2 goes into that, 280 times, and then you're going to break that. I use 2 until I run out of even numbers, and then I stop. So I just keep going, and there I ran out of an even number, so then I've got 5 and 7. So my primes are those 2 and those 2, and that's where I got that up there. Alright, so let's look at the 588, and again you do the factor tree, and I'm going to assume you can do the factor tree and I don't have to write it all down again. So we've got 588, we've got 2 times 2 times 3 times 7 times 7, and then 1250 is going to be 2 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. Okay, so let's look at our first ones. 2. I have 4 2's there, 2 2's there, and 1 there. So occur the most right here. Cross those out, cross that one out. Okay, now I look at the 5. 1 5 there, none there, 4 here. So I want these 4, don't want that one. Next thing I'm going to look at is my sevenths. 1 there, 2 there. So I want these two, don't want that one. Okay, now I go into the next row. Whatever's not circled or scribbled out, I have to look at. I've got a 3 there, nothing here, nothing there, so my 3 occurs the most there. So my prime factors are left. Oh my goodness, thank goodness for calculators. There, I multiply that whole shebang, and that gives me the least common multiple. 1,470,000. That means that the smallest number that all three of those will divide evenly is this guy right there. So that's it for lesson 43A. We'll do least common multiples of algebraic expressions in the next video.